We carry so much without noticing. Emotional pain has a quiet way of becoming familiar, almost comforting, as if the mind would rather hold something heavy than reach for something new. Many people walk through life believing that tension in their chest, tightness in their jaw, that sinking feeling deep in the stomach is simply who they are. But none of it is who you are. It is only what you've been holding. Pain becomes a habit when we repeat the same thoughts. A child who hears criticism learns to expect it. A young adult who experiences rejection. There is a moment often quiet and almost unnoticed when you realize how long you have carried something that does not belong to you. A memory resurfaces. A sentence someone once said repeats itself in your mind. A behavior you thought was normal a doorway. You cannot release what you refuse to acknowledge. You cannot heal what you are unwilling to see. So many people ask me, why do I feel the same pain over and over again? And I always remind them, because the mind returns to what it knows. If it has known fear, it reaches for fear. If it has known criticism, it recreates criticism. The mind is not your enemy. It is simply loyal. It repeats what it believes keeps you safe, even when those beliefs are hurting you. Old beliefs are powerful architects. They build the shape of your days before you. If you believe you are unworthy, you wake with hesitation. If you believe life is difficult, you walk into the day already bracing yourself for impact. If you believe nothing ever works out for you, you dismiss every opportunity before it has a chance to bloom. These beliefs whisper to you from the moment you take your first breath of the day, and they color every thought that follows. You may not even hear the whispers consciously, but you feel them. The hesitation before making a choice, the anxiety before speaking your truth, the guilt when you want to rest. These are the fingerprints of old beliefs you never chose but somehow inherited. You might think the greatest obstacle to miracles. But it is rarely the world. It is the inner dialogue you have accepted as your identity. Self-criticism is one of the strongest blocks to transformation. Every time you tell your spirit contract, every time you say, I always fail, you give your future a script it never asked for. Every time you think, I don't deserve happiness, the universe answers, not out of punishment, but because you are the one setting the boundaries of what you allow. People believe they are being realistic when they criticize. They think harshness keeps them humble, responsible, aware, but harshness does not create awareness. Harshness creates fear, and fear is the greatest barrier to receiving anything new. Miracles are not fragile, but they require space to enter. A mind filled with self-judgment has no room to welcome. There comes a day, sometimes quietly, sometimes through a wave of exhaustion, when you finally notice how much you've been carrying. You notice how your shoulders round forward, as if protecting something wounded. You notice how your breath becomes shallow when someone mentions your past. You notice how your joy feels muted, your dreams feel distant, and your hope feels conditional. This recognition is not failure. It is awakening. You are beginning to see the weight, and in seeing it, you create the possibility of release. The fear, the guilt, the resentment, they are responses you developed when you had fewer choices, fewer tools, fewer voices encouraging you to trust yourself. They were solutions once, but solutions can become prisons when we outgrow them. Healing begins the moment you question your pain with compassion rather than judgment. Ask, does this thought help me or limit me? Ask, what would happen if I allowed myself to think something kinder? These questions are small keys that unlock large doors. Awareness is the first step and perhaps the most important one, because awareness breaks the illusion that you are powerless. Once you see the belief, you are no longer trapped inside it. You become the observer rather than the prisoner, and the observer has choice. Many people think letting go requires dramatic action, the ending of relationships, the burning of diaries, the sudden spiritual revelation. But letting go often begins with one subtle shift, allowing your self to see. When you see clearly, you no longer mistake the wound for the whole. You no longer confuse survival patterns for permanent truths. You no longer assume that because something has been with you for years, it must stay for the rest of your life. The miracle begins not when everything changes. That one opening invites hope. Hope invites willingness. Willingness invites transformation. Look at your life with gentle curiosity. Notice the thoughts that drain you. Notice the habits that shrink you. Notice the endless self-criticism disguised as motivation. Notice the way you hold yourself back to avoid disappointing others. Notice how quickly you silence your desires because they feel too bold or too joyful. All of these are clues pointing to the parts of you waiting to be freed. You are not broken, you are patterned. And anything learned, it can be unlearned. The moment you recognize this truth, you loosen the chains of self-doubt and step into a world where change is possible, not forced, not wrestled into existence. Simply allowed, ask yourself to question the belief. Allow the possibility that life is not working against you, but patiently waiting for you to release what no longer serves you. Awareness is the beginning. Release is the path. Miracles are the natural result. The body is always listening. Long before the mind admits a fear, the body has already. A single thought can tighten the shoulders, clench the jaw, shorten the breath. This is not punishment. It is communication. The body is the most honest friend you will ever have, and it faithfully reflects what's filled with doubt. The body learns to brace itself. If your thoughts are filled with criticism, the body prepares for judgment. And if your beliefs center around unworthiness, the body learns to shrink as though trying to take up less space in the world. Most people believe their physical tension comes from mental worries, but underneath each stressor lies a thought. I'm not safe. I can't handle this. Something will go wrong. The thought arrives first, the body responds second. Every emotion we experience has a physical echo. Fear pulls us inward. Sadness slows our rhythms. Anger heats the blood. Guilt hollows the chest. Even the mind's simplest phrases, I should have done better, I always ruin things, no one wants me, send ripples into the muscles and nervous system. The body sends signals when a thought is harmful, but many of us have become so accustomed to it. A tight throat during a conversation, a knot in the stomach when making a decision, a weight on the chest when recalling an old memory. These are not random sensations. They are the body's way of saying something you are thinking is hurting us. The moment you feel discomfort, you are witnessing the physical imprint of a belief you have practiced many times. If you want to understand your emotional patterns, listen to your body. Notice where tension settles. Notice how quickly it appears when certain thoughts. Notice how your breath changes when you speak to yourself harshly. The body does not lie. It reflects every belief with precision, and every repeated sources of physical tension is self-criticism. When you tell yourself you are not enough, the body contracts. When you replay mistakes, the body stiffens. When you imagine failure before it even happens, the body prepares to defend itself. Many of us grew up believing that criticizing ourselves makes us responsible, disciplined, or motivated. But self-criticism does not build strength. If you repeat, I always fail, your attention unconsciously searches for proof, ignoring the moments when you succeed. If you repeat, nothing ever changes, your mind stops noticing opportunities. If you say, I am unlovable, you interpret affection as pity or obligation. The mind is not trying to harm you. It is simply following your instructions. Affirmations, whether positive or negative, are seed, the soil, with criticism. The harvest will mirror that when you nurture it with gentle thoughts. The universe responds to your inner landscape, not your outward wishes. You may hope for peace, but if your thoughts are filled with fear, your body will remain tense. You may desire love, but if your mind repeats unworthiness, your heart will remain guarded. This is why replacing inner criticism with compassion is a profound act of healing. Many people resist compassion because they confuse it with weakness. They believe they must be strict with themselves to improve. But compassion is not indulgence. Compassion is clarity. It is the understanding that you do not grow by attacking yourself. You grow by supporting yourself the way you would speak to someone you deeply love. Imagine responding to your mistakes with payment. The shift softens the body immediately. Shoulders relax, breath deepens, the heart opens. When the mind offers compassion, the body finally feels safe enough to release tension. It has held for years. Healing is not achieved through force. Healing begins when the body rears. The gentler your inner dialogue becomes, the more space the body has to unwind. This softening is not weakness, it is strength returning to its natural rhythm. A river does not flow because it forces itself forward. It flows because nothing is obstructing it. The same is true for your inner healing. Gentle thoughts create openings where tightness once lived. A single phrase, I am learning, I am trying, I am worthy of ease, can dissolve years of tension because it interrupts the cycle of fear. the body hears the shift immediately. When your thoughts become kinder, the body begins to trust again. It trusts that it no longer has to stay on high alert. It trusts that pain does not need to be repeated. It trusts that you are now a safe place for yourself. And when the body trusts, miracles are not far behind. Miracles require open space, mental, emotional, and physical. They flow toward calmness, not chaos, and paying attention to the signals. The flutter in your stomach when you doubt your capability, the tension in your shoulders when you compare yourself to others. These sensations are guideposts pointing toward thoughts that need to be released. They are invitations to shift your inner language. Not laterno, ask yourself throughout the day, what am I saying to myself at this exact moment? You may be surprised by how often your inner dialogue leans toward criticism. Awareness simply asks you to witness. And once you witness, you can choose differently. Choosing differently is the beginning of liberation. Each time you replace a harsh thought with a forgiving one, you strengthen a new pathway. Each time you soften your inner voice, you soften the body's armor. Each time you say, I deserve peace, your body leans toward that truth. Healing is not dramatic. Healing is progressive softness. Healing is the mind learning new rhythms and the body responding with relief. Healing is the slow, steady realization that you are not here to sub them with love. Your body has been speaking to you for years. It is time to speak back with kindness, because when the mind becomes gentle, the body becomes free. And when the body becomes free, miracles begin to recognize you as their home. Kono is something many of us cling to without realizing how heavy it is to hold. We believe that if we plan enough, worry enough, push enough, the outcome will finally bend to our will. Yet every spiritual truth I have ever witnessed in my own life and in the lives of thousands of people shows the opposite. The universe cannot place miracles. Allowing is releasing the tension that blocks the flow of good. It is choosing to trust that life has a far wider vision than the one fear offers you. Allowing is a spiritual practice because it requires deep inner trust. It asks you to open the space. It asks you to surrender your belief that you must carry everything, fix everything, and foresee everything. When you allow, you are not abandoning your life. You are stepping out of the way so life can finally support you. Think of the seed pressed into the soil. It does not panic about becoming a flower. It simply allows sunlight, water, and time to do their work. This is not passivity. This is alignment. This is the art of letting life be your partner instead of your adversary. Whenever we try to force a specific outcome, we unconsciously send the message that we do not trust the universe to take care of us. Forcing is born from fear. It says, if this doesn't happen exactly the way I want, I will not be okay. Allowing is born from love. It says, I am willing to be guided, even if the path surprises me. I have witnessed miracles blocked by nothing more than expectation. If people tell themselves, it must look like this, or it must arrive at this time, or it must follow these rules, and in doing so, they unknowingly shut the door that was meant to open naturally. Forcing creates tension. Tension creates resistance, and resistance delays every blessing that is on its way. Releasing resistance is not complicated, but it does require awareness. Notice how your mind feels when you cling to a specific outcome. Your breath tightens. Your thoughts speed up. You begin imagining everything that could go wrong. You negotiate with resistance. It is the spiritual equivalent of pulling a rope that is tied at both ends. No matter how hard you pull, nothing moves except your energy draining itself into frustration. Now imagine loosening your grip. Imagine dropping the rope suddenly. There is room, space, air, possibility. When we release resistance, even slightly, the universe has room to orchestrate something better than the limited version we imagined. Obomizi. When you stop repeating the same fear-based thoughts, your mind becomes like a clean surface to receive new ideas, new opportunities, new guidance. This is allowing. Allowing says, I do not need to micromanage the universe. I am willing to trust that things are unfolding, even when I cannot see the next step. Life does not require you to understand everything. It only requires your willingness to move forward without fighting yourself. When you trust the unknown, I often tell people that the unknown is not a void, it is a doorway. And the moment you step toward it with openness, something incredible happens. Life meets you halfway. Solutions appear where you thought none existed. Support arrives from unexpected. This is the nature of miracles. They rarely arrive through force. They arrive through a mic and topic. It means giving them space to breathe. It means letting the universe refine them, elevate them, and deliver them in ways that exceed your imagination. When you cling tightly to one rigid version of success, when you cling tight to the unknown, you allow life to express creativity on your behalf. You may not know what is coming, but the unknown knows you. It knows your desires, your needs, your strengths, even your hidden potential. Welcoming, unexpected, good is an act of faith that says, I believe something wonderful can happen, even if I cannot see how. And that simple belief becomes a magnet. Many people think transformation requires dramatic action, but often it begins with one small release, letting go of one old belief, softening one, noticing one moment of tension and choosing to breathe through it instead of resisting it. These small releases accumulate. They create shifts in the mind, peace in the body, and openings in the spirit. The universe responds quickly to any amount of space you offered. You let go of guilt, and suddenly you have more energy. You let go of needing to be perfect, and opportunities appear. You let go of someone else's approval, and your decisions become clearer. You let go of repeating the past, and a new path forms under your feet. Miracles are not distant events reserved for a chosen few. Miracles are the natural outcome of releasing what blocks them. Allowing is the art of stepping aside, so the universe can meet you fully. It is the recognition that you do not need to force your worthiness or chase what is meant for you. The moment you soften your grip on life, life softens its grip on you, and in that softness, blessings can finally land. You deserve ease, you deserve support, you deserve a life that flows instead of fights. When you begin practicing, allowing even gently, you start shifting. You step into a world where good things feel possible again. You start seeing signs of alignment, coincidences, unexpected invitation, moments of clarity. These are not random. These are confirmations that you have opened the door. When you stop controlling every outcome, you invite the trusted. Allow a little, believe a little, release a little, and watch how quickly miracles begin to find their way to you. Becoming a magnet for miracles begins with the most intimate transformation you will ever experience, the rebuilding of your self-identity. Not the identity shaped by fear, not the one molded by past criticism or old stories, but the identity aligned with your inherent worth. Every miracle responds to the vibration of worthiness. When you believe you deserve good, life leans toward you. When you speak to yourself as love, the universe mirrors that love back for many people. Worthiness feels distant, as though it is something to be earned, proven, or achieved. But worthiness is not a reward. Worthiness is a remembering. You came into this life with value. You were born deserving. No mistake you have made, no trauma you have endured, no criticism you have absorbed has ever erased your worth. Becoming a magnet for miracles requires you to return to that truth, not intellectually, but emotionally. You begin by saying softly, I am willing to see myself with kindness. This willingness opens the door. Your self-identity is shaped by what you repair or guilt. Your identity can cross. If your inner language is rooted in love, acceptance, and possibility, your identity expands. Expanding your identity means alio. Choosing thoughts that attract blessings is not about pretending everything is perfect. It is about nurture thoughts that create space for positive change. Thoughts such as, life supports me, I am open doors. They allow the universe to enter. These thoughts are not delusions. They are invitations. When you repeat them with sincerity, your energy shifts. You stop bracing for disappointment and begin preparing for positive minds. If you say good things never happen to me, the universe cannot contradict your command. If you say maybe something wonderful is coming, the universe has room to respond. Miracles often slip through the cracks of open-mindedness. You do not need absolute gratitude and love. Anchor this willingness. Every time you acknowledge something good, even something small, you shift your vibration toward abundance. Gratitude does not mean ignoring challenges. It means recognizing that life still offers moments of beauty, support, and softness. When you practice gratitude daily, your mind becomes skilled at noticing blessings instead of problems. This noticing strengthens your magnetism. Love works in a similar way. When you practice small acts of love for yourself and others, you generate a frequency that miracles can recognize. It could be as simple as placing a hand on your heart and saying, "I am learning to care for you." It could be offering kindness to someone who expected judgment. It could be choosing rest when your body asks for it. These small acts reinforce the belief that you are worthy of compassion and care. Recognizing your inherent power is essential to becoming a magnet for miracles. So many people believe their lives are shaped by external forces, circumstances, other people, luck, or fate, but your true power comes from your abilities. When you realize this, you stop waiting for someone else to rescue you. You stop expecting life to change without your participation. You stop fearing the unknown because you a priori. It says, I choose what I focus on. It says, I choose what I believe about myself. It says, I choose what I welcome into my life. When you reclaim this inner authority, the outer world shifts accordingly. The situations that once drained you lose their influence. The people who once triggered you no longer control your self-image. The opportunities that once passed you by begin to find you. Miracles are drawn to empowered minds. They are drawn to hearts that believe they matter. They are drawn to individuals who allow themselves to participate in their own healing. You do not attract miracles by striving. You attract them by aligning with your truth. And your truth is simple. You are deserving of good. Give yourself permission to receive. This is often the most difficult part. Many people feel comfortable giving, helping, sap love, support, abundance. They hesitate. They fear appearing selfish. They fear judgment. They fear disappointment. But receiving is not a selfish act. It is a spiritual necessity. When you allow yourself to receive, you complete the cycle of universal flow. You breathe in after breathing out. Say to yourself, I am willing to let good things come to me. Notice how your body reacts. Notice the places where resistance still lives. Notice the thoughts that try to argue with your worth, and then breathe through them. Receiving is a practice. The more you affirm your readiness, the more life begins. You become a magnet for miracles the moment you align your identity with worthiness, your thoughts with possibility, your habits with gratitude, and your heart with love. You do not need to be perfect. You do not need to have everything figured out. Love is the fuel, and so as this teaching comes to its close, let me offer you this emotional truth. You are allowed to begin again. You are allowed to expect good. You are allowed to receive a life that feels beautiful to you. The universe is not withholding anything from you. It is waiting for you to stop withholding from yourself. Miracles are not random. Miracles are attracted to those who allow themselves to believe they belong. Today, give yourself permission to receive. Give yourself permission to be blessed. Give yourself permission to be transformed, because the moment you say yes, life begins saying yes.